Good evening, and welcome to Bowling Green City Schools Performing Arts Center. Please take a moment to familiarize yourself with the exits at the front and rear of the auditorium. In the event of an emergency, please proceed quickly and calmly to the nearest exit. At this time, we ask that you turn off all electronic devices and remind you that food and drinks are not permitted in the auditorium. Finally, we also ask that you refrain from flash photography as it is distracting to both performers and audience members alike. Thank you for spending your time with us, and please enjoy the show.
Was the 1959 standard by Mongo Santamaria, the Afro Blue. He was a Cuban percussionist and band leader who spent most of his career in the United States, and that was the first jazz standard that was built on the typical 3/2 African cross rhythm. So that's been a kind of a year-long project for us, putting that one together. Rhythmically and harmonically, it's something different that we haven't done before, and these guys did well with that. So can we give another round of applause for Paul on tenor sax, and Blaine on trumpet, and Tyler on bari sax. We're going to take a little change of pace here and do a little bit of Duke Ellington. We're going to play Come Sunday, which is a part of a larger work that Duke Ellington wrote called Black, Brown, and Beige, and it was written for his first concert at Carnegie Hall. The purpose of the work was to tell the history of African Americans and was Ellington's attempt to transform attitudes about race, elevate American music, specifically jazz, and challenge America to live up to its founding principles of freedom and equality for all. He only performed the entire work the one time in Carnegie Hall. He never performed the entire work at the same time again. He broke it up into smaller segments. And the portion that we're playing this evening, Come Sunday, is from the first movement of his work. And it became a standard after he put it on his 1958 album, which was by the same title as the larger work, Black, Brown, and Beige. Here is Come Sunday with Lily Smith on clarinet, Anna Bullis on trombone, and Lawson Rhodes on trumpet. Again, that was Lily Smith on the clarinet, Anna Bullis on the trombone, and Lawson Rhodes on the trumpet. Unfortunately, I'm not up to date on my microphone stand training, so I apologize if you couldn't hear them. They did a really nice job, by the way. The last tune that the jazz ensemble will be performing tonight is Birdland. Many of you probably heard this many times, but it's a jazz tune written by Joe Zawinul of the band Weather Report. Birdland opens Heavy Weather, the 1977 album that marked the commercial peak of Weather Report's career, with Alex Acuna on drums. That was before Peter Erskine took over, for those of you who are Weather Report aficionados. The composition is a tribute to the famous New York City jazz club named Birdland that operated on Broadway from 1949 through 1965 and that hosted many great jazz musicians of the era. This is where Zawinul, who visited the club almost daily, heard performances by Count Basie, Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington, Miles Davis, you name him, they've played there. It was also where he met his wife, Maxine, so it was kind of an important place for him. The song was also named in honor of Charlie Parker, and according to Jaco Pastorius, the great bass player of Weather Report, in a 1978 interview, the studio version was recorded in one take. So check out the album Heavy Weather, and you'll hear Birdland, and you'll also hear it today with our soloist Andy Crawford on alto sax and Lawson Rhodes on trumpet. So here is Birdland. Crawford and Lawson Rhodes for soloists. Thank you so much for coming out this evening. We're going to do a real quick set group change here, and we'll be right back in one moment. Basie Straight Ahead, a tune from the album by the same name. I don't think you'll be able to guess who it's by, but I'll tell you, it's Count Basie. That was the first album that was the collaboration between Basie and his longtime arranger and composer, conductor, Sammy Nestico. Sammy Nestico wrote a lot of great arrangements that are accessible for high school ensembles, especially this one. They're doing a great job. Can we have another round of applause for these guys? Again, that was Joey Height on the tenor saxophone and Emery Headley on the piano. We're gonna slow things down just a little bit and do the Hoagie Carmichael tune, The Nearness of You. The original tune was intended for a Paramount film called Romance in the Rough. That film never happened. There was a similar film that came out, but this tune was not in it. Anyway, it became famous over the years, but this arrangement that we're doing tonight was arranged by the bassist, John Clayton. He actually lives out in LA, and we, a group of us, some of the individuals in this ensemble, the jazz ensemble that you just finished hearing, and the middle school jazz, took a trip down to Columbus back in the fall, and John Clayton was down there playing with the Columbus Jazz Orchestra. It was an awesome experience, and I enjoyed tying that experience in with what we do on a daily basis. For those of you who are up on the news, the California wildfires back in January affected John Clayton. He actually lost all of his basses when his home burned. He's fine, and his family's doing well, and he's still playing. But you know, just those real life experiences. Those are things that we get to talk about in jazz all the time. And so that was another opportunity as we were working on this piece to just bring some of those things home, so to speak, that maybe we hear about off there somewhere. So back to home. Tonight you will be hearing from Owen Ruffle on the vibraphone and James Feehan on the alto saxophone as we play John Clayton's arrangement of The Nearness of You. Rowan Ruffle on the vibraphone, and James Feehan. We're gonna take just a moment here to do a little costume change, and I guess I need to do one myself. Just one moment. The 8-Bit Big Band. The 8-Bit Big Band is a Grammy Award-winning 30 to 65-member jazz pop orchestra that formed to celebrate and realize some of the best musical themes written from various video games from all consoles. The members of the 8-Bit Big Band come from all around the world, but most reside primarily in New York City and are some of the most highly sought-after musicians and performers, all gamers at heart, who enjoy playing their favorite games of all time. In May 2018, the 8-Bit Big Band released its first album, Press Start, which we'll let you do here in a moment, on which Bob on Battlefield was recorded. You will hear from Logan Kruger on the alto saxophone and Aiden Metzger on the guitar as we play the 8-Bit Big Band's arrangement of Bob on Battlefield. to Logan Kruger on the alto saxophone and Aiden Metzger on the guitar. We also had Asher Bumpus back there on the drum set. Asher Bumpus back there on the drum set, and Lawson Rhodes on the bari sax. So. We are going to do not only a group change, but we're going to do a real quick set change. So give us about 30 seconds here. It'll be a little bit longer than that, but we'll be right back with you.
All right, can we have one more round of applause for both of our jazz bands? All right, and while we get set up for the concert band, we're going to talk about everybody's favorite thing, fundraising. Woo! Okay, yay. But we're going to New York next year, so we got to fundraise. So we're very excited about our New York trip. This is what the students will be doing in class tomorrow, is going over this fundraiser. We've talked about it a little bit, but I wanted to help answer any questions for parents. For this fundraiser, this is a discount card fundraiser, but instead of the ones that you carry around in your wallet, this is an app that you download on your phone. So this is, you can share this with your friends and family if they're interested in doing this, and we'll show you how to do that. So this is what the page looks like. If you send the link to someone, this is what it's going to look like. And Mr. Coleman, if you can go ahead and scroll down for me, please. Thank you. All right, so they will get to see this video of our students. We're not going to watch it right now. We made that in class the other day. So they'll see this video of our students so that they know it's our kids. And then they're going to hear a little bit about our fundraiser, about the different types of discounts that are available to them. And you can go ahead and keep on scrolling down. They will then see what different discounts are available. So you can see there's a whole bunch of different options. Some are national chains, some are more local things, so you can see some of the different ones, and they'll get to see this too if this is something they're interested in purchasing. That's all that gets sent to them is this website. If you're giving out their email or phone number, parents can also send that too. Can we scroll down one more time? Go ahead and hit load more one more time, if you can. Thank you. There we go. There's tons of stuff on here, okay? So if that's something, there's a lot of great discounts on there. They can look and see, you can look and see if that's something you're interested in sharing with your friends and family. That goes towards your students' New York trip for next year. If we can scroll back to the top, or actually you can hit right there, share by email. This is the part that the students are going to do tomorrow, and this is why we wanted them to have some contacts ready for this. They can type in their name. This is important. It needs to be the student's name so that we can keep track of which kid gets what credit. So they type in their name, and then you can paste in any email addresses there that you want to fill out there. So for anybody that you want to send that to, you can do the same thing for text messages as well. And then you hit send. It sends a little bit of message about our fundraiser. It sends that video, a direct link to this website. So that's what that is. So for parents that have questions on that, I hope that helps answer some of those. Feel free to send me an email. Again, this goes towards your students' New York trip. I know seniors, you guys won't be going to New York with us next year. But if you would be able to share this with your friends and family, or you want to share this on Facebook, this will come out in the Bobcat Band Bulletin for this week. So thank you guys very much, and we'll continue with the concert band.
Make sure I'm on the right side of my page here. That was Dark Side of the City by Joshua Ito. That was a piece that we actually performed at the state large group adjudicated event. It was one of the required pieces. if there's anyone in the audience that is a parent, guardian, grandparent, anyone that is associated with any of the members on stage right now, would you please stand up? I can't really see, but I'm assuming there are a lot of you standing. On behalf of myself and all of the students on the stage, we just want to thank you. This group has been extremely hardworking, and I'm sure that you, all of those of you who were standing out there, heard many complaints over the past, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 months, however long it's been, about all of those assignments that Mrs. Metzger gives, and I have to do another one. But you know what? Thank you for making them stick with it. Thank you for making them do it. Because they should be awfully proud of what they've accomplished this year. I am extremely proud of what they've accomplished this year. They have, in addition to working hard, just musically, they've come together as a group, as an ensemble, and you deserve part of the credit for that, so thank you. Just in addition to all they've accomplished, most of you probably already know this, but they earned a superior rating at the district OMEA large group event, which qualified them to attend the state event, and that's the first time in, I don't know the exact date, but it's been over 15 years that this ensemble has done that. So it's been So the rest of our program, we put together in about 6 rehearsals. So it'll sound really good because of all those things that they worked on previous to that. But we were working so hard on that we didn't have a lot of time left for this, but they've done an amazing job. So here is Old Irish Tune. We're going to go to Hollywood to finish out our program today. I have two more selections. The first one is some highlights from the 1992 Disney film Aladdin. Actually, both of the original films that we will be playing music from to end this program were released when I was in high school. We will start with Aladdin, and then we'll get to Jurassic Park in one moment. before we close out our portion of the show with themes from the original Jurassic Park movie, which I think it's like maybe like the 6th one or something like that, is coming out this summer. Although John Williams no longer does the soundtrack, they still steal some things from John Williams' original soundtrack. So if you're in the theaters this summer watching the 6th or 7th or 23rd or whatever Jurassic Park is out this year, take a listen and see if you might hear some of these themes. But before we play our last tune, I just would like to offer issue some thank yous. First of all, I know you've seen a lot of me this evening. That is not indicative of the amount of work that goes on around here, okay? There are Mrs. Pressner, Mr. Gee. They are wonderful colleagues to work with, do excellent things, and help me out every day with all sorts of things. So, and thank them. We like to thank our Band Booster organization. They're very supportive in everything that these students do. So thank you. We also need to thank our administration, our high school principals, Mr. Black and Mr. Rupp, and our superintendent, Dr. Hazelman, for just supporting the arts in our community. The opportunities that these kids have are because of all of those individuals as well as you here this evening. So thank you again for coming, and let's hear some themes from Jurassic Park.
Can we get one more round of applause for Mrs. Metzger and the concert band? All right, if you'll give us just a few more moments to get set up, we will continue with our symphonic band. We begin the symphonic band portion of tonight's concert with music that depicts a Japanese village in May, dust bunnies, the wind, and even a cat bus. We hope you enjoy our performance of musical selections from the 1988 Japanese animated film, My Neighbor Totoro. We will feature soloists Ava Pepper on flute and Nathan Keller and Carter Wadsworth on the euphonium. Composer Julie Giroux has been composing music for film, television, and band since 1983. She's also known for her love of dogs. Her Mambo Perro Loco, or Crazy Dog Mambo, is an original musical collage of Spanish dance forms including the salsa, bachata, merengue, flamenco, and fandango. Apologies, Spanish teachers in the audience if I mispronounce those. Be sure to listen for the many sounds coming from the members of our percussion section, in addition to our special frog percussion performed by members of our trumpet section. We will also feature Ash Fleming on a trumpet solo. According to Ms. Giroux, only a crazy dog could dance to this and get away with it. We hope you enjoy Mambo Perro Loco. All right, as we set up for our final piece tonight, Mrs. Metzger stole some of my thank yous already, but I'm going to say them again because I think we should say them as many times as possible because we have so many great people in this community and in this school system. So I want to take a moment to thank the many people that are involved in preparing for tonight's performance. To our custodial staff, thank you for the time and care that you're putting into setting up, cleaning, and maintaining our wonderful facilities. And Mr. Coleman, who runs our PAC, we absolutely could not do all the things that we do here without you. You are essential to that, so thank you to those people and Mr. Coleman. Few schools are fortunate enough to have this type of performance space. To our administrators, including Mr. Black, Mr. Rupp, Dr. Hazelman, thank you for all that you do to support our program. To my colleagues, Mrs. Metzger and Mr. Gee, Mr. Gee, I can't talk tonight, I'm so sorry. Thank you so much for your hard work with all of our students at every grade level and in every ensemble. It's truly a team effort, and I feel privileged to work with both of you. To our Bobcat Band families and friends, thank you for driving your students to practices and performances, attending their concerts, providing private lessons, and encouraging your students. And finally, to our students, thank you so much for all of your hard work, all the students in the audience and all the students on this stage. Thank you so much for your hard work this year. It is amazing to see what you have accomplished throughout the year. And yes. And finally, to all of our seniors, can we have all of our seniors stand, please? Out in the audience, too, please. You guys can stay standing for a minute. I have some things to say about you. So thank you to our seniors for all that you've contributed. You can stay standing for a second. We want to recognize you. Hold on. And then I'll let you sit. Thank you for all that you've contributed to our band program during your time here. Thank you for mentoring and encouraging those around you, for persevering even when you felt like giving up, and for sharing your unique talents and personalities with our band. We're better for having known you. Thank you so much, seniors. Speaking of seniors, make sure that you have on your calendars, May 19th is our band awards. We get to talk a lot more about our seniors then and about all the other wonderful accomplishments of all of our students. So May 19th for that. All right, we end tonight's concert with music from the soundtrack of the 2003 Disney film, Pirates of the Caribbean. We'll be featuring Ariana Chung on the clarinet, Sam Cozy on the trumpet, and Elena Kramer on the timpani. Sorry. Thank you again so much for coming to our concert this evening. We hope to see many of you again at our concert on Thursday, and if not then, on May 19th at our band awards. Thank you and have a safe evening. Seniors, I forgot to say, green room. Seniors, all seniors to the green room. We gotta take a picture, okay?